here we are, November 2025, sitting with Jess, Mims from Seize the Day, who have just rowed across the Pacific Ocean from Peru to Australia. Adventure Aaron, who is currently midway through his circumnavigation of the world by rowboat, so solely by sea. And Louis from Human Impulse, who is currently also circumnavigating the world by land and sea, so in an ocean rowing boat and also by bicycle, and is the first Swiss to have crossed the Pacific Ocean. Guys, tell me, take me back to a moment on the ocean when everything changed for you. Jess and Mims, you start.
Oh, I don't know where to start. We had a lot of problems that changed the crossing completely. One of them was the restart, and the rudder had been made wrong due to manufacturing error. Same was happening with the spare rudder. So we had to go back, restart, and then on second attempt we had power issues, water maker issues, and it just became a completely different crossing to what we expected when we started planning the journey.
And how did that make you feel, having to restart, having got to the start line, made your way out to sea, out to the ocean, 300 miles in I think you were, and then having to restart? What did that feel like?
We couldn't believe it because it was so hard to get to the start line anyway. We had so many issues trying to get our food and boat into Peru, and spent weeks longer there than expected, and we thought we were all set, but it appears not, and things just kept breaking throughout the whole row. It was, like problem solving throughout.
Can't wait to hear more about it. Aaron, tell us the same. Take us back to that moment on the ocean when your family didn't know where you were, the world didn't know where you were, you ended up in a life raft. Tell us, what was that like?
I didn't know where I was. It was 33 days of silence because I was 1,500 nautical miles west of the Galapagos and 3,600 nautical miles to the closest point in my direction, which was going to be the French Marquises. I lost solar power. So for 33 days I was rowing in silence what I thought was the right direction, and then on the 33rd day a rogue wave hit me on the beam and spun me upside down, and unfortunately I was still attached to the deck, and so the hatch was open. I was bracing for impact, waterboarded in, swam out, and then I had no other option because she didn't self-right because I left the hatch open, and jumped into the life raft, and that's when I realized my world was upside down. But there's multiple. I mean, that's just one time.
So so grateful that you were here and that you get to tell the story.
You've got 9 lives, Aaron.
Louis, how about you? You are not quite there yet, still working your way around the world, all the way back to Switzerland. Tell us, was there a moment in your expedition, in your journey so far?
I mean, for me the start was pretty easy because I had to cycle to Portugal, but then I prepared everything but didn't really do much practice before going on the ocean. I think I had like one row on the lake, and I was like, okay, I can row, I can go on the ocean now. And I head off from Portugal, and after 3-4 days, big weather was coming in. And it was like maybe 1 or 2 weeks on anchor, and I was like talking to my router, and it said either stay on anchor or come back. And I said goodbye to everybody, and I actually made the decision to go back. And I had crossed like the shipping lanes with many cargo boats, and going back was just horrible. So I had to row back, like only 80 nauticals, and I was just arrived back in Portugal alone, and actually had to wait 3 weeks, massive waves, and I just felt terrible, and I was like, okay, this is going to be hard. I didn't expect to like already, it felt like a failure for me, already failed from the start. So I was like, okay, this is going to be hard.
It's going to be hard. And actually, often from failures, that's where we grow the most and where we learn the most. So it's extraordinary stories, and all of us ocean rowers, I've rowed across the Pacific Ocean, but I don't think I've got anything as dramatic as the stories that you guys have to tell. So
because you were the fastest in the world, right?
Not enough days on the sea.
Exactly.
Just too fast.
35 days on the sea, exactly. Yeah. Not enough time. So Mims and Jess, take us back to the beginning, your campaign. Tell us, like, what inspired you to take on this extraordinary expedition of 8,000 miles rowing from Peru to Australia? Because it's no mean feat.
So we both met when we were rowing across the Atlantic Ocean in the 2022 race from La Gomera to Antigua. Mim's rowing solo, I was a team of 4, and we were both in Antigua together at the end and just absolutely loved our time on the ocean and just thought we need to go and do another row. And we were sat on the end of Mim's hotel bed trying to find challenges bigger than the Atlantic.
We were Googling like what's a really hard challenge, and the most they came up with was like Tough Mudder, like that's not going to cut it this time.
It's not enough.
We thought we did look at doing the Pacific race, but thought we don't want to just stop in Hawaii, we want to do the whole thing. And so that's where the idea came, to try and do the full thing, non-stop and unsupported.
So tell us about your expedition. You know, what were you doing it for? What's your why? Tell us like how far, etc. Everything. Tell us all about it.
So we were raising money for the Outward Bound Trust, and I think when we look at everything that we've gained from adventure, and you guys would be the same, like how much it teaches you, how much it makes you grow as a person. We found the Outward Bound Trust charity, and they basically get kids out into the wild, and kids that normally wouldn't get the opportunity because maybe they're not from the right financial background, and teach them important life skills that set themselves up for adventure. Like if I could have done my ocean row when I was like a teenager, I would have done it then, because it's so good. And I think those important life skills, and I think it's very underrated, the power of adventure. So we found them, and that was perfect. And I think we just want to encourage more people to get out and do those things that are a bit hard. You know, it doesn't have to be a massive adventure like an ocean row, but just trying something new or something that you're holding yourself back from a bit.
Yeah. So, and we all know that being outdoors in nature is good for well-being. We know that the world has got mental health crisis going on. And actually, I also talk a lot about there's a lot of growth that comes from putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. Quite often when you go out and you challenge yourself through organisations like the Outward Bound Trust, you really are sort of testing your limits and seeing what you're capable of. And that supports your mental well-being, because actually when you come across tricky things during the everyday, if you've done something difficult through something like that, then you know that you can see it through.
I mean, we were so happy out on the ocean. It was tough at times and really frustrating, just being wet the whole time, covered in salt sores, but just living out on the ocean, living the simple life was just the dream.
Because you were rowing in a shift pattern of how did that look? What did your everyday look like?
So we started off doing 2 hours on, 2 hours off, and we do like a voluntary extra hour during the day. It wasn't really voluntary, was it?
No, we called it voluntary because you could choose when you did it. But.
And then as we got closer to the middle, and from the middle to the end of the row, we were rowing all day together, and then we do 2 on, 2 off during the night time. It was just too hot to try and take a nap on deck or in the cabin during the day. So we didn't have enough power to run fans or anything. So we just thought we'll do a bit more rowing.
Yeah, and it's completely unsupported expedition.
You were rowing a lot.
Yeah, I mean you have support in the way that you've got a land team or weather router, safety support, but when you're out on the ocean, you're on your own. There's no support boat, there's no resupply. We didn't stop at any islands. The goal was just to get to the other side without in a wanna.
That's quite extreme. And Aaron, tell us about yours, because you're also crossing the world's oceans, and some of them pretty volatile waters that you've got across, and you're solo and also unsupported.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that was going to be as hard as it is now, but my goal was, after cancer in 2008, to do adventures for philanthropy reasons. I had just come off the longest canoe journey, according to Guinness, for 233 days in a canoe, and I was like, oh my God, I love the water. So then this whole idea of this ocean rowboat came about, and I was like, what the F is an ocean rowboat? And then once I got more understanding with that via like conversations, never meeting an ocean rower, it was just like, okay, how far has anyone gone around the world in this thing? Let's go. And so that was always the mentality. And then it was about how do we do it in a way that we're helping the community, paying it forward. So it's really about getting to as many countries as I can. Currently it's been 15 now. And it's about seeing if I can connect spiritually with God. And then it's how do we make an impact? And then, oh, by the way, maybe there's a personal ego part, like let's see if we can do it farther and challenge the idea of back in the day when a sailboat first went around the world, maybe someone had a boat without a sail and was actually able to discover some of these islands. So I think the hardest part though is going down the coastline. So I left in San Diego in 2021, not knowing how to row a boat, never had any experience. I trained on my own, but I didn't really have a coach. And then I made it down to Panama. It was supposed to take 3 months and it took 14. It came,
So, oh my God.
it came with a lot of adventures.
It was the first. No one had ever rowed that part.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because maybe for a reason.
There is a reason, Aaron.
Right.
There is a reason.
And the idea was that you learn how to do it, or you just ship the boat to the Panama Canal, because we believe that Panama Canal is the place you can circumnavigate from. So I decided to just row it because that's how I learned the best. But it came with a lot of adventures. One of them was a chicken that I had to eat. Another one was a food drop. Everything that could possibly go wrong with a rowing expedition went wrong. But I got it out of the way, you know.
You're here.
I'm still here.
We thought we had it bad.
And I haven't felt like it hasn't been purpose to continue. So, you know, that was really just, that's the learning curve. And I think everyone has their own learning curve. And if you have no experience, you can still do it. I think that's what's cool, is you can get in these boats and you can still do it. Whether you want to go to these islands or not, that's another option. That for me, I record everything. I record where I got to tow, because when you get to these coastlines and you get to these islands, you have to. Like the Torres Strait, which I just went through, if you go up too high, there is no way to row through there. And I would love for other people to try and tell me I'm wrong. But, you know, from my experience, there's not. Same thing with the Panama Canal. So the Galapagos, I circled for 14 days before I could get into them.
Yeah, the currents, they are just looping around.
Yeah, and that with the atolls in the South Pacific is really what I got into a situation recently going through the Torres Strait, where you have the Fly River. I was 10 miles offshore. I'm in 40 feet of water, and because of the depth and because of the wind against tide, the wind was 30 and the river's coming out with the tide, I was caught in breakers. I'm on parachute anchor capsizing. And I was 10 miles away from from a service boat that was going to help me get through the reef, which I couldn't get to. So, you know, you learn these things, and I think that's the beauty of it. I have a really fast boat, the R20. She's less forgiving, and she's my best friend, but like, we don't have a good relationship when this happens. And I blame myself for everything. Right, she wants to fucking go, and I'm just like, wait, no tricks, no rollovers, sit, stay, please.
Oh my God.
But, you know, you can always get what you want. So.
Tell us about the motivation behind the name, Smiles.
Yeah, so it was originally called the Honey Badger. Two girls that got her in 2013, and for whatever reason, after day 3, they decided it wasn't for them. She sat in the Vancouver Maritime Museum. I operate my adventure life after cancer as a happy-go-lucky person, because life is fucking hard. I'm sorry, I don't mean to curse, but I'm a rower. So
You can.
it's freaking hard. I mean, so like, you know, the last thing I want to do is remind myself, calling my boat, about how badass she is. I thought the first thing that a baby does when it smiles means it's happy, right? So like, and my whole journey is to bridge a failure to communicate. I used to be a journalist, and I like to tell stories about people along the way. I rock up to some island that we don't speak the language, and they say smiley, smiley, and I tell them it's smiles, and then they start laughing. It's just this universal happiness, word for happiness. So it keeps things light.
So, and Louis, tell us about how did your campaign come together, land and sea, around the world?
It's always hard to answer, but for me it was a very long process to arrive to the final project, because before I used to row like international level, but in very small boats, and there are no big waves. And and I also enjoyed some biking, and I did a trip to Istanbul, and after that I thought, okay, maybe one day I will do a big project. And then I was inspired by some people doing the race, the Atlantic race. I just loved it, like watching it. I was like, this sounds fun, you know. And wanted to do it with a friend, and then it was not possible in the end. And then I thought, but if I cross the Atlantic with my boat, then my boat is on the other side, so I can cycle again after that. And then I started investigating, and then I arrived on the book of Jason Lewis. He's a British guy who is the first to ever human-powered like go around the world, also like bike and boat. And it unlocked my mind, like, okay, actually it's possible to row around the world. I didn't even know. And then I just clicked, and I connected with the guy, and I met him. And when I saw him, like when we were talking about this project, like the light in his eyes, you know, when you see someone passionate, And I was like, I want that. You know, I want to have a part of that, you know. And of course, like now I'm trying also to give this because I think I'm quite passionate as well about it. And I went to a few schools on the way, and the name of the project, Human Impulse.
It's a great name, by the way.
It's about, so it's always very hard to find a name for a project, but I wanted to, the human is in the center, because I mean, I wanted that part, like, because we're doing adventures and sport, but actually it's all about, can you push yourself, can you overcome like difficulties, go like over your comfort zone. And actually I wasn't really ready to do my trip. Many people were scared for me. I had never rode an ocean before. I didn't even have enough money, lack of preparation, and you know, I was maybe 10-20% prepared. But that's a message I'm trying to convey, like, you don't need to be ready and be a professional to reach an incredible goal. And I'm a nobody. I come from the countryside in Switzerland, and I just tried, and even though people were saying no, it's not possible, too risky or whatever, and I said, you know what, I just try and go. And I will always remember what Jason Lewis told me. He said, you need to set a date for where you start and just keep to it, because if you would like postpone, or I'm not ready, because you will never be ready. And then he said, reaching the start is already half of the job. And this I'm trying to convey, like, to people, like how to reach massive goals, and we're all able to do it. And I think in our society we are lacking this, as you said. Like, adventures bring so much. Like, you just learn, I mean, so much about yourself, about others. And so yeah, now I'm like 2 years in, and it's been very hard. I spent over a year alone in the past 2 years. It's very hard to get back into society, but so much, like, so worth it. And I'm very happy to meet these guys and to be able to share, because I haven't met many ocean rowers. So to think, and with the girls, we had the same time on the ocean, and Aaron, I think at some point as well. Okay, I'm not alone in this. And sharing, what makes us human. And impulse is like the drive that's inside of you. You know, you have something like an instinct, and you should pursue that. And we're often told, you know, like society pressure, and we forget about our dreams, and especially kids. They have so much going around, and yeah, so just do what you want to do, and sacrifice a bit, of course, because it's, for all of us, big sacrifices to get there, and but it's totally worth it. So that's my message.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting because there are obviously organised races that cross oceans in the Atlantic and the Pacific each year. And there's a lot of preparation that goes into that, whether it's physical, it's safety, it's boat preparation, and it's quite a rigid process. But the four of you have all taken on these incredible independent expeditions. And so with obviously support of various people, some more than others. But I think what's interesting is I'm always more interested in what preparation did you all do to kind of psychologically prepare yourself for this, if any at all, because both of you have been alone at sea for an incredible amount of time. You know, that solitude, and we all know that, like, loneliness is going to be one of the biggest killers of the next decade because of the isolation that people are experiencing by working from home or being, you know, digitally kind of more connected than they are connected in person. You guys have chosen to isolate yourself from the world by going out into the ocean. Tell us about, like, how did you prepare for that?
Did you prepare anything?
Or if you didn't prepare for it, what is it like? Because you've chosen that.
Yeah, go ahead. And I haven't done much, but I will go for it.
When I got cancer, it was a wake-up call. I'm a believer of, it takes 1 second to make the decision, the rest of your life to make it right. So whichever decision you make, you're still going to be fixing it along the way. That being said, you need a mandatory list of items, right? You need to protect, you have to rely on yourself. But for me, it's been 504 days at sea now, at sea time, and 4 years of living in this boat by myself in my life. At the first, I've been in it so long that I love it. I got to a point where it's like a superpower. And I think, like, that first step, like Louis was just saying about, it's almost that first step has always been the hardest, but you have to just go and trust. but you just know that the worst situation is you're going to die. Okay, so how does that happen? And you tell yourself, you walk what that looks like, so you can overcome the fear. And then you get into the part where, okay, now I'm going to prep as we go, because you have to. Everything changes, things break in the boat, and I think one of the best things is how everyone in this room is adapted at sea. There's some really good stories, you know. I mean, that part I think for me has really been the best. But the loneliness for me is just like, it's just for me my superpower. I love it. I think it'd be harder for me to have someone in the boat. I wish I could. You know, maybe that's why I'm still single. But
You have your girlfriend. She's called Smiles.
Yeah. She doesn't talk back.
She's.
But I'm so passive. Yes. Instagram.
Adventure Aaron.
Yeah.
So that's a good name for a single man to have.
It can burn you in the ass though too.
Did you have like a psychiatrist that you talked to,
No.
before going, or like mental preparation?
Coping on land, I went through 3 years of in between expeditions after 17 years of doing these, and I was in bad shape coping, and I did talk to someone then, but I was also medicated, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this adventure is because I wanted to get rid of all that. I wanted to get back in the sea at sea level at 2 knots, living, not racing from marina to marina like sailboats did or the yachts did with the gas, and nothing wrong with that, but for me I just needed to really embrace the purity. So yeah, that was my psychology, was just that what we talked about, the sea, the stars, the moon, you know, the fish, that interaction. It's probably not human interaction, which is really unhealthy.
But did you guys feel lonely out there? Because I've not spent as much time on my own at sea, but I actually don't think I
think you
felt
went
lonely
through-
on my Atlantic crossing, really.
Yeah.
I didn't. You
My longest was 133 days alone. But to be honest, now it's been a year, so I sort of built mental, how can I explain, like a mental house.
Like a
to live
coping
in.
mechanism.
And I think it's almost schizophrenic. No, honestly, because twice, 4.5 months in a year alone, and but now talking about it, it's like there's a part of me that's on the ocean. I was always remember when I arrived in Polynesia, I went to my bed like the first or second night, and I just laid down and I felt my body was not there. It was back at sea, like almost teleported. And you build a relation with nature actually. And for me it was quite a meditative crossing where I was listening to some special frequencies. And for me, I got inspired by Erdon Arouch, who's got the record for going around the world. And I just asked him after the Atlantic because it was too hard for me, and he gave me some tips. And basically, leaving your body, like in the mind, and just connect to the universe. And really, it's very hard, like a lot of hard work. But if it's possible, to completely disconnect from the body, and this is the best feeling I've ever had.
It's the best thing I've ever heard.
That's
crazy.
It's so deep. It's hard to explain. It gives me goosebumps, but it's often like, how do we feel happy? Like, what makes us happy? But for me, the most happy moment is when Louis Margot myself didn't exist anymore. I was like just completely out, and sort of diluted in space-time. I was not human anymore, even though my project is called Human Impulse. But I completely dissolved myself, and because I went away from that, all my doubts about my life, my questions I have about anything, they sort of vanished because I was not myself anymore, just universe. Like I was looking at my star, and it's almost like praying. Like looking up.
Spiritual.
Yeah, but talking to the universe in general, because I was dissolved in it, and time sometimes like 4 hours went away in 1 second.
That's what you said the other day, and I said, "Oh my God, that's genius! You just wrote 4 hours, instead of an hour with like a playlist."
Yeah. You remove the watch, and at night you don't see the time go, and you put frequencies, and you can. I understand now the Buddhists what they try to achieve. How do they call it? Like the last step of the Buddhism, when you reach like total
enlightenment.
Yeah, how do you call it?
Enlightenment, is it?
Yeah, like total enlightenment. And I didn't really understand what it meant, but really it's possible, and it's just the most amazing feeling. So yeah, for me that was very spiritual and meditative.
That was.
I don't know if you had some of that.
That was the craziest. I would have a hard time getting through an hour or two of rowing. And when you said you disconnect with the frequency music, it makes totally good sense. You're disconnecting from your mind because you're there's no one else to talk to.
Yeah.
You're by yourself and you're arguing with yourself, and you need to get through the endurance. But I think anyone watching this will have a different thing too. Like I have like other vices, like 4 vices that I go to. It's either like music, chewing, whatever, oral fixation. You know, I think music, like that type of music is a great one, but
it's just.
Did you have that as like you had to get yourself into that state every day, or would it last like a couple of days, a week, or whatever? Because
there is the Netflix and row nights. Because we have Netflix. I had Netflix. I was watching movies.
No,
I was making pizza.
No, you had a lot of fun. I was always also like watching TV shows, but already like it takes a month, I would say, to like adapt.
Yeah.
Have the routine and everything.
Yeah.
And the process of meditation, it's some work. It takes some work, like with the frequencies, and then you can connect with this, and it relaxes you. And by looking out, it's. I mean, now I can do it because I've done it, but it's a lot of work. But once you get there, it's
amazing.
I mean, there's nothing compared to that feeling. Nothing.
I found it was like you actually truly live in the present. You live in the moment. You're not a second before, not a second after. You are in it. And whether you're being seasick or whether you're rowing, whether you're eating your food or getting the jet boil ready, you are in it and you are living it. And I think we spend so much of our lives on land looking at kind of what we've done in the past, what our failures are, how we can be better in the future, what's coming up in the future. And quite often we forget to just be here and be right in it, right now.
Yeah.
And I think ocean rowing, I don't know whether you girls felt that, because obviously there's 2 of you, so it's very different.
Well, it was different because, at night time we'd be rowing alone, and it literally felt like, for me, it felt like I was the only person on the planet, like I was on top of the world. And it was just, I wouldn't have music or audiobooks on for some of my night shifts, and just used to listen to the waves and look up at the stars and be flying down the waves sometimes. And it was just the most incredible feeling. Like I just felt like I was on a massive high.
Yeah, it's because like sometimes I'd have music in, but would have no idea it was on. I'd forget I was listening to music or just not really register. And it was interesting that it was very different from like my solo row to this row. I think the solo row, because you are just purely on your own, you do feel a bit more of a connection. So, but like when you're on your own, like at night and stuff, there are just some days where you're like, I get to do this and this is really cool. And you think a lot more profoundly, like it's like what you were saying about the enlightenment. And I remember especially like on the solo row, like some days I would just wake up and I'm like, I get to do this. And the day flies and you're just like, oh my God, the world is amazing and like how cool is this? And you feel like you're so insignificant. And I always find that when you look up at the stars, if you look up for long enough, like it'll just blow your brains. But you feel you're so insignificant, so it's just cool. Like it's just so cool that you can cross entire oceans and rowing boats and just like so connected to nature. And I think that's probably like what got us coming back for the second time, because when you get back to land, you start losing that sort of like profound thoughts and like living that stripped back life. You've no choice but to feel connected to everything, and it just happens naturally there. So when you get back to land and you start seeing like the news again and people are complaining about their day and you're just like in the supermarket buying bread and you're like, I was on the ocean a month ago just sort of living and surviving every day and just thinking how amazing the world is, and somebody cuts you up in traffic and you sort of start complaining about the little things again. And it's just such a different way of life.
And all of that feels total nonsense, doesn't it? When you're out there, you're like, why are people getting angry at other drivers? Like you can't change any of that. You just,
I think for anyone, just to add to that, I think for anyone watching who is struggling with that isolation or being alone thing, what it's worked too is that when you recognize it, you have a curiosity. And if you really want to continue to dig into that, like, why am I so high about it? Why am I feeling the way I am in the present? And then you add the food element. So like in our boat, you could fast if you want, you could just go on rice and fish, and then you would get to another level, I think, like when you're eating certain things, or if you're not, it goes the wrong way. But like the food intake, I think, has a lot to do with it too. you know.
We need to hear more about your food because
Yeah,
you did a
we didn't have the same kind of food on the boat.
Very different approach.
You make pizza.
Yeah, tell us about the pizza thing.
Flour
jealous.
and yeast. Just flour and yeast.
What I have done for a pizza. What did you put on the pizza?
I have a solar oven.
This is a world first.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about the solar oven. No rowing boat has a solar oven apart from yours.
I think it's just because I live on it, right? So like I know it's not normal, but like I have to like I'm just living my life in my boat, and yeah, solar oven was the easiest way. I don't cook with any heat. I just prefer not to deal with it. I'm not like I don't like to clean dishes and stuff, so I just don't even like want to bother with heat. So I just kept canned food, canned vegetables, but I carry all the rations, so it would be sugar, yeast, flour. Sometimes I make my own alcohol or wine with fruit cocktails.
What? I didn't know this one.
You're in international water. It's allowed. You're allowed to.
Where are you growing up?
But no, I don't. I do not grow mushrooms or anything like that. Those sailboats have gone by me. So, but, yeah, no, I did. Yeah, but a lot of times for me, it's the basics: rice and.
How did that
I make
stuff not all
fish
go?
jerky.
Did it not go really mouldy? Because
No.
we found that the further we got through our crossing, like getting snacks to be able to last the length of time we needed to, we couldn't do. So we had to just get stuff with as big a sell-by date as possible and hope they wouldn't go mouldy.
I didn't have that kind of product. I don't think, and I also would catch like 2 fish a day because they would crossing. It was there. The mahi was there, and I would make fish jerky or use lime juice to cure the ceviche, you know, and just make fish ceviche. But I always carried canned stuff, and I always made sure to keep it on the boat, which was a pain in the butt because some people have this argument where it's bad for the environment. So the last thing, plastic was always a no, but like the cans was a big one. So that was a heavy item that I would like to change. But I also didn't have sponsors, you know.
Fried food is expensive.
Yeah, and I told people I was going around the world, and everybody was like, "Okay, let us know how it goes, buddy." Or they didn't want to put their name on somebody who might die, which is fair.
Did you take any dried food with
No,
you?
I never did. I only dried it when I caught it, so I would dry it.
So you just had fish hanging around it?
Yeah, lots of it. Yeah, and if you add a little salt, but it dries on its own. You hang it, and the locals in Mexico, and I went down. They would show me how to do it. But
Wow.
the best idea was the sprouts that you guys did. To
Yeah.
me, that's a green. That's like a green thing on the boat.
Yeah, so
Yeah, you had
we had a
growing-
little home harvest unit which was made specifically for us. And we had these mats with the seeds already in them. We had cabbage sprouts and radish sprouts. And every week we'd put the sheet in, the seed mat in, and we'd water it a few times a day. And at the end of the week we'd have fresh greens that we'd top our rations with.
It's great.
And it was
Pretty
so
cool.
nice because one of the things I really missed was green vegetables.
Yeah.
Like, my
Yeah.
biggest craving was broccoli. Like I just really wanted some vegetables.
Yeah, just to mix it. But you're having all sorts of weird combinations
Yeah.
like chicken korma and
Green
radish sprouts.
Yeah.
It's a bit random, but yeah, it's such a treat. But it was just exciting seeing it grow as well because
Yeah.
we didn't know if it would work. It was a bit of an experiment. So to be able to grow things so far from land in
That's
like
very cool.
such a
That's
harsh
very
environment was pretty cool.
Yeah. So we've had a live chicken, sprouts. I mean, Louis,
What were you
you
guys?
just on the dried food?
I was on dried food and I had a lot of cheese, but like, I didn't really.
Jealous.
I had a lot from Polynesia. I had like 20 kilos of cheese. Wow. I just craving for cheese and chocolate, Swiss chocolate. But it was all melty, you know.
Yeah.
So but I was living off those.
This is quite a funny story about the last chocolate on board. So,
Yeah.
so we actually got put in contact with Louis through my dad and Louis' mum.
Yeah.
And so we were messaging the whole time on the InReach. Anyway, we'd run out of chocolate like
ran out
a
of
month
snacks.
before. And I was like, oh, Mims, I know where there's chocolate.
Yeah, she just goes, I've got a
I know
fantastic
where
idea.
the chocolate is. And we had 4 Yorkie chocolate bars in our grab bag for emergencies if we needed to get in the life raft.
And we did this. We had this moment where we were like,
both
do we
had
do it? Do we not? And we're like, let's do it.
Yeah.
If we get in a life raft, we'll suffer without chocolate.
Yeah,
But we're
yeah.
like, we need chocolate now.
Anyway, we opened these bars and they were all white and crumbly and kind of a bit of a disappointment. But we told Louis and you were like, oh, it's such a good idea. We're going to do it too.
Yeah, I also emptied my grab bag because I was out. I made the mistake of having all my snacks and my candies in the hatch next to where I sleep, and I didn't really count. And I thought I bought so much, I'm gonna have enough. So every night I was just lay down in bed and just grab from the hatch and didn't really count. And suddenly we're talking and I'm like, wow, I have no more like snacks and chocolates. I'm finished. And I remember I had like the grab bag where I had the survival food and I just emptied that as well.
I think your advice to any ocean rowing team is like you can never have
No.
enough
Never
chocolate,
enough.
because
You
we
never
were
have enough.
saying,
Yeah.
we were like discussing how many chocolate bars should we take? Oh well, one
You need
every
more.
2 days. Like otherwise
Not
it's
enough.
too greedy
No.
to have one every day.
Yeah.
Like
No.
it's totally
And
not.
everything's
It's
so
not
bad
when you're rowing 12 hours
It's
a day.
never
Yeah,
enough.
I
Yeah.
think if there's anything you can eat when you're rowing that much, it's chocolate. I had
Yeah.
2 bars, I think, every day in my snack
I was really
pack.
sad. I kind of had like no chocolate. For the
You
first 2
you
months.
did
I didn't
not
really
pack
have
yours
any
very
chocolate.
well.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like we did our daily snack packs, and in the beginning we were like, yeah, we're gonna like stick to it so well.
no.
And then there's some days where
It
like
goes out the window.
the rations are just not sitting well, or you just pick a horrible ration out, or it's too wet and you have an extra snack pack. But then there'd be some days the thoughts just start creeping in, and you're just like, oh, I could just go and have a biscuit from tomorrow's snack pack, and then it's just a slippery slope
It
from
is.
there.
Yeah.
And we'd always start the day and be like, right, we're going to be really good today, or we're going to have a week where we just stick to our snack packs. And it'd last a few hours, and then you're like
Yeah.
robbing biscuits from the later ones, and
Yeah.
But I
Just-
think
yeah.
your idea of having, fresh fish is just fantastic. And we had a fishing line out the whole way across, and we
That
caught
was
one fish.
huge.
It was a massive one.
And it was the best day ever. Like we had
It was so
such a good
exciting.
meal. And I think, a lot of ocean rowers don't do fishing because they think it's too much hassle, but it is so worth it. Like just to catch one fish,
the whole experience was just
it was so good.
we had so much adrenaline.
You guys
when
had
we
the
caught
handling
fish.
too, right? You were handling
Yeah.
it with it.
Yeah.
That's
So we
the
had
way
a-
I would recommend for
We
any
literally
rower.
had like a metre of bungee cord from a spear
Yeah.
gun with a carabiner on the safety line, and then 30 metres of line. We
And just a plastic
we were
spool.
trawling the whole way, yeah.
And that brings me to my next question, which is quite often ocean rowers have this sort of single goal in mind, that they want to be the first, they want to be the fastest,
Yeah.
they want the world record. But the number of rowers that go across, particularly in the organised races each year, the likelihood is you're not going to be the first or get the record
Yeah.
or row. So you girls have picked up a world record. And you both are set, hopefully, as long as everything goes well, to have world firsts or records as well. Was that the driving force for all of you? Or because you've just spoken so much about the enjoyment of the journey of fishing while out at sea, what were your driving forces? And was it that single goal of I want to be the first, I want to be the best, I want to be the fastest, etc., or was it something else?
I don't know, for me, I wasn't too worried about the records. It's just a cool thing that comes along with it. I just wanted to do something really long that not many people had done, and I just love the experience and the challenge. I think the records are just a cool thing that come with doing something.
Yeah, I think it's like a small part of it, but it's not like the overriding factor, because
Yeah.
I think as humans, like from your name as well, Human Impulse, you're made to want to push boundaries and explore. There's a reason humans go into space. There's a reason, like the first people sailed across oceans and discovered new countries, or happened upon land. So there's part of you that, really wants to go for that. But I think, at least with us, once we got to the start line, because we'd had so many problems to get to the start line and had so many problems on the boat, just getting across for us was like a massive achievement, because we had so many problems that could have ended the whole expedition. But I think like going back to like that race aspect, and there's people that maybe wouldn't stop to fish, or that wouldn't stop to like take a photo of a whale or whatever. I think going fast, a lot of people think you have to suffer to do it. But I think if you have the right attitude, I always said it's the words I had written up in both my boats was the difference between an ordeal and an experience is your attitude. And if you take those steps to make yourself happy out there, you will go faster. And there's a lot of people say a happy rower is a faster rower. And I think if you have those little luxuries, it can give you such a boost that you end up rowing faster, or something like that. Like on my Atlantic crossing, I had some whales and stopped and took the time to take photos and really enjoy the moment. And that gave me such a boost that I went so much faster the rest of the day. So it's those little things. I think you have to build in those things that make you happy.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Somebody will always break your record.
Yeah.
And then it's like Usain Bolt, someone's broken his record now, so
Yeah.
he's not the kind of talked about athlete all the time. It's the same in ocean rowing, like people are pushing boundaries all the time.
But I think-
it's actually those memories and those
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, definitely.
there's the
that
stories
make-
that you have at the end, but those things that make you happy, I firmly believe, make you go faster. Sometimes taking the time off to do something like catch a fish might give you that boost you need to go really fast for the next 24, 48 hours. And
And
add a level of it.
We'd never really like stop for long if we saw wildlife or you know, caught the fish, for example. Like we would really try and stick to our routine and yeah, just make sure that we were keeping the boat moving all the time. I think that was a massive part for us. And
yeah, keeping the momentum
there was only one day where we had maybe a couple of hours off on your birthday when we wanted to go for a really long swim and just enjoy it and just float about in the ocean.
I think we had half an hour. That was the only like thing we did that wasn't with the mind of sort of going faster and like keeping the boat moving and like essential things.
How about you, Louis?
I mean, I come from a competitive background because I used to row like high level, and when I came on this project, I was like, okay, the record is 5 years. I can push myself to like go hard, because I like to push my limits. So I started very hard, and but now I'm like 2 years in, and actually the record is like, you know, the goal, but it's not really like what makes the project. It's everything you go through. And I learned so much about so many things, even if I don't get a record. In the end, it's just a line. It's just a line in the book or a register, you know. But now I'm a bit more chill, and I will. I was talking to Jason Lewis, who did like 12 years the first time, and because I'm like so much faster than him, he just texted me, "Don't forget to enjoy your trip," you know.
Yeah.
And just because we see so much stuff, and not many people like went on the ocean like alone. And now I'm really on this Pacific. I spent more time really trying to enjoy compared to the Atlantic. And yeah, I mean, I had like visit from helicopters, from airplanes. I had even like a ship, like a fishing boat, like bring me beers. You know. I was just so happy. That was just awesome, you know. And that's when you come like on the ocean, you don't have like disturbance from the society, and you in the Maslow's pyramid, I think it's there's like the needs.
Maslow's
hierarchy.
Yeah, and you see like, you know, the food becomes like so important.
Yes.
And you become actually more like human, like more animal. And actually these are the really important things. And you can focus more on this, and you forget about the rest. And you open your eyes and you enjoy. I mean, the beers I got delivered, I was just so happy. I was just getting a fresh drink. When you think about it, on land you just go back to the shop and you just buy it.
Yeah.
But out there, everything is so intense. And now of course, I'm going for the record, because I think when you do a project, you need a goal. Otherwise, you just, you know, if there is no goal, you go nowhere. You just go in loops or whatever. So it's like a driving, like, okay, I wanna push myself and try to beat that, but it's not what makes the project. And I'm just so happy I'm here, and so many things, like many fishing boats coming, and whales, as you girls, turtles, marlin, dolphins. I had one day like 4 hours dolphins going around. I was just watching them, and it's very simple. When you think about it, it's very simple, and but it makes you happy.
Yeah.
And I hope it will help me in my life, and like people around me, to try and go back to that. Because today, I think in our society, I mean, I was very stressful at work. I was not even enjoying anything. We forget, I think, what a human is, and we are actually very simple. That's what I came to realize.
Yeah.
We are very simple people, like animals.
So. And we've adapted so much in such a short space of time as a society. I mean, how old is the human race? And then you've sort of been the same for so long, and then just sort of the last 20, 30, 100 years just changed so much. And I think it's like your body and your brain, our brains are still sort of catching up on that, and there's that sort of disconnect.
It's the reason why I also wanted to do a human-powered journey, because many people do like, I don't know, with cars. I mean, there are like a lot of trips, like ways to go around the world. And my idea was, we are living too fast. Everything is fast every day. Like, I don't know, like Instagram, like the news. Nowadays we are so connected, and I think it's stressing us. Like at least back home, I don't know here, but like so many people are going through burnouts because the pace is too high.
And we're disconnected. We're the most connected digitally, but the most disconnected as humans as we've ever been. And it's only going to get more and more and more because of AI and how fast everything's moving. Like humanity, our human brains and our bodies can't keep up.
You said it, humanity. That's what I'm rowing for humanity. I think that's what this is all about. I call it sea level, my journey at SEE, because we all are connected by a greater thing. And if you can remember that, then that guy on that island who doesn't speak your language, or that person doing their adventure who may have beat you in your record, you're all one of the same, doing the same thing. And it's about, we're rowing this beautiful ocean that connects the whole world. And so, yeah. But I think that there's 3 phases. Just to add to that, for adventure, like if you do an adventure, I think you go for it for the personal, right? The quest of the record. Then I think, for me at least, you get to a level where you go, oh my God, this is so rewarding of an adventure. It's like a good way to test how good your adventure is, because then you get to this level, I want to help somebody. Now you're good. Now you want to go help somebody. So you do it for other people. And then I think you get to the 3rd phase where it's like, where did all this come from? And that's when you get to the spiritual. So.
And that's really interesting. And you've all talked about the kind of the absolute highs, the awe, the self-growth, the personal development that's come from it. But that must have also come from some really dark moments and some really tough and challenging either conditions or experiences that you've had on the ocean. And I think, Aaron, you've had the most challenging
Definitely.
And
I don't even know I have, you know what I mean? I think the number one thing is like, I have to make sure I learn from everything and realize. And because I've been in survival mode for 4 years and 503 days, I've been in a mind state when I capsize and I have to refit my boat, or I lose my boat for a year, which happened, and it floats into Fiji. I have to fix it. Like, okay, I got my journey back, my mission's back, let's fix it. So until now, this is going to be the longest I've been off the boat in the journey, I won't leave more than a boat ride away from my boat, because I don't want to lose that mentality of survival. And my only training with it was with the SEALs before this, and it was like muscle memory. I just remember we trained like what happens when everything goes upside down. For me, it was ditch bag, life bag, beacon. Ditch bag, life raft, beacon. Those are the 3 things and that's exactly what happened. So I went through so many things. I mean, I actually have this thing now in the seas that happened to me in boats where I get traumatized. I have this trauma, and I'm better than that, right? I know I'm a tough guy, right? But like, it's happening. So I get into seas now and I start to go in panic mode. I can check it. I know how to do that by just telling myself I'm going to capsize, and then what's going to happen? I walk myself through those steps. But 39 hours in the life raft in the middle of the Pacific, capsizing twice, a couple dozen knockdowns, running out of food, it's all happened. So I'm not sure much more can happen.
And now you're going to the Indian Ocean, and you're trying to go around Cape Good Hope.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Cape of Good Hope is when I get there, that'll be a new problem. But the biggest one is the swells and the wave direction. I'm so high up, and I can't change the boat, because this will be a time, like one of their boats I think would be great. It has a tendency to capsize a lot. So I'm modifying it. I'm doing all my homework. I'm doing more research. I come across very lighthearted, but like I really study this thing like it's my life, which it is. And I think getting it ready as close to safe as you can is the key. Having your exit strategy so that if you do have to press the button, try not to tie up the resources of other people and risk their lives. So, when this boat does go upside down, which I think it will, going across the Indian a couple times, just being prepared to self-ride it and know how to do that and not panic and don't leave the boat, always stay with my vessel. The other time I was in the life raft across the Pacific, and I was untying the painter line, and the conditions were so bad that we lost a hold of each other. I lost a hold of the painter line, and Smiles went that way, and I went this way with the canopy on my 6-pack life raft, and I had 2 seconds to decide to go get the ditch bag. I will never put my ditch bag on the inside of my boat ever again. So you learn these very valuable things. So I like to think that I am learning. I'm not some happy-go-lucky guy, which you still have to have the mentality too, I think, to do something like this. But yeah, I mean.
So how do you mentally come back from those dark times? Because it is an extraordinary story.
Yeah.
That your family were told that you were lost at sea for a month, and as the ocean rowing community, we were all aware that you were not.
Yeah, well,
you were presumed.
Well, I've learned to communicate better, get proper team members. Unfortunately, I didn't have good contacts without naming or throwing anyone under the bus. I'm on my own journey. I take full responsibility, but I know now that I have to align myself. That's why this was so rewarding. It gets me going, because it's been a battle. But
it's amazing the motivation that you have to just keep on going back after everything that's
That's
gone wrong. Like, it's really inspiring.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
an extraordinary story.
Yeah.
thank you.
It is.
Yeah, I just, if it's meant to continue, I will. If it's meant to hand it off to someone else to do it, that's even better. I'm not chasing. I know better than to really chase these paper things that will probably put a stamp on my book and make me money to support my journey one day. I just really like the challenge that I get to mentally and the spirituality part, and just the helping other people. It's just been great. So it's like, why should I stop? You know, just
And
keep
being
going.
part of a community, I was talking yesterday about the ocean rowing community and how it's a really small community, but it is a really, you can be 18 or you can be 70. I think the first people that I met who were ocean rowers were 70. They were the granddads of the Atlantic.
Wow.
And it's like,
You just got that instant bond, haven't you?
Yeah.
and you know, and like Mims, there's 2 decades that separate us and Aaron, and it's like, but you're all connected and you all share this kind of amazing bond. And I think that again is like when we talk about humanity, that is something that in pockets of the world, not everywhere, because we're here in Bali right now, and like community is everything here. But being part of an ocean rowing community and knowing that actually you've now met 5 new people as part of who understand your mission, your expedition, your goals. They understand what you're going to be going through when you're at sea. Maybe will make you feel differently when you're crossing the
100%.
Indian for the next time, because you know that there are people who get you.
It's a deeper level of perspective and safety and bond than the oceans I row. I mean, having them row.
Only thing about you, it was inspiring me. When I was in the ocean, I was like, oh my God, Aaron went through this. I mean, honestly, it was like this. I'm nothing. Like this man went through, and he pushed me a lot of the times. I was like, man, wow.
No, like
it's.
I mean, he was going the route that I wanted to go, but I didn't think it could be done. Now I'm like kicking myself because he's doing it. Yeah. So likewise.
Yeah.
Louis, so tell us about those dark moments then. So Aaron was your beacon of.
Yeah, I mean,
So what were you experiencing?
No, but I mean, of course, when you're that long at sea, you go deep down, and it's not pleasant, of course. You have the highs, but you have the lows. And I had a lot of lows on the Atlantic because for me, I had already failed my start, and then I just did 77 days on the Atlantic because my boat is very slow. And it's just, you think about your life, your family, you think about all the decisions you made in the past. It's quite painful because I'm thinking, like, often when I go to bed, I think a lot, like even now here on land, I think a lot. So it was really hard. And that's why I think I should have seen like a psychiatrist or a shrink, or like do a proper mental preparation, because I didn't do any of that. So I just ended up on the ocean with all my thoughts, and this is quite overwhelming, and it's hard to cope. And actually, what happened is I just went through these, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's really hard to go through there. And the Pacific as well is a long, long way. And I think about Aaron, and I was just like, wow, this guy. And honestly, when I was in having problems, I was like, okay, no, it's nothing compared to Aaron. You can do it. You can, and it's inspiration. I got inspiration from some people, from Aaron, and then maybe I will inspire some other people, and so it goes along, and we give energy to others. And that's why it was really nice to be like us together, because before I had not really met ocean rowers because I didn't do the race. So it's really nice to be like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm alone, like on the sea, but not truly alone. You're never actually. That's what you discover at sea. You're never truly alone. I had people, like the people I knew in my mind, they were with me. Like I don't know if you had that, but it's like I could talk to them, but in my mind. So you're never truly alone. You
took it to an amazing mental level. I'm fascinated by how the mental game you took it to.
Thank you.
And I think the journey will take you to that. That's what the journey does. And you get to a point, like he's probably going to hit this mark next, and he's going to be like, I'm so good. Like he's going to be obviously talking to everybody, giving sermons, more
I don't know.
than he already is.
I don't know.
But like it was that bond, and it was also with Jess and Mims when they had contacts. They knew people in I didn't know it, I only knew one or two, but it's hard to get information from ocean rowers too. Some of them don't want to talk to you. I think we've had some similar conversations. We're like, well, can we ask him? And they won't, just for whatever reason, which is fine, but it's hard. It's not every day you can get that advice. And I think hearing from Mims and Jess about the innovative ways that they put things like on their piping.
I know, and exactly, and for you guys as well, when you experienced those dark moments, you had each other. So what was that like when it was, because there are tough times out on the ocean. We all talk about the awe and the amazing things, but what was it like for both of you? Did you see it in each other? Did you recognise it? How did you support each other?
So there was a period when on the second go, when we were having power issues and thinking, oh gosh, we're going to have to hand pump water for the whole 8,000 miles and it's going to take us even longer, and we were just really frustrated and both quite quiet for a few weeks, just not really enjoying it as much, and everything was annoying. Like every time we got a wave over us, it was the most
swearing at the ocean and shouting at the boat, and
we both just sort of, I think, took quite a lot of time to just process it and we were quite quiet, weren't we? But never got to a point when we were
at each other.
We were so lucky we didn't have any arguments, but we never really got to a point where I don't feel like I had any massive lows. I just felt like frustration was something I felt quite a lot, and then we got over it. We're like, it's fine, we're going from A to B, but we are just living on this boat and we've got to make do with what we have, and what will be. We just had a bit of a click moment, didn't we? I think we just got to accepting it all, and I think you do have to go through that process. I think if you try and force yourself to get out of the slump, sometimes it can be even harder, and you put your pressure on yourself, why am I feeling like this? I need to get out of this mood. But I think you have to let yourself go through that process. And it's interesting for me on my Atlantic row, which was solo compared to this one, I found my mood was a lot more level this one, and I think it's maybe because we were together. And it's interesting, I think for first crossings, you'll probably have found that with the Atlantic compared to the Pacific, that you could mentally prepare, and I didn't do anything specific mental preparation. I didn't have the budget or sort of extra time as a luxury. You could prepare in the best way possible, but until you actually get out there and row an ocean, and there's only so much you can do. So I think obviously coming into this one, I was a lot more aware of how my mind works. I think I was a bit aware before the Atlantic, but it's interesting that sort of process you go on throughout. And I think a lot of people start ocean rows thinking it's going to fix all their problems or change them completely, but you're still the same person you are. But I think you've got to go on that journey throughout. And so that was you're sat with yourself day in, day out, and I'm like my own company and very good at my own company. But then you start to recognize your thought patterns and right, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you do sort of realize those sort of the patterns that lead to maybe the low, or okay, I'm doing this in a situation and it's actually not the healthiest way to go about this, and try and untrain yourself a little bit. But it's interesting. I think you've got to go on that journey throughout a crossing.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is it's sort of almost like an acceptance or a surrender of everything that you've kind of always known about yourself. It all kind of comes out on the ocean, but it is a journey that you have to go through. And as part of that journey, part of it is also coming back onto land, life on land. Now you guys you're stopping as you go, but you've all had this extended period of time. What does it feel like being back on land compared to life on the ocean? Because it is, for me, it was this massive. It was just so vastly different, and I think when we were coming to Hawaii, we were slightly anxious about what it was going to be like. We could smell Hawaii, smell fried food out in the ocean, which was extraordinary. That was sort of overwhelming on the senses. But it was also, we were coming out of COVID, and it was this time where everyone had been isolated in this enforced isolation, but all of a sudden the world had started to back up again. But we'd been in our own isolation with 4 of us just out at sea, so we felt really anxious about seeing all these people again. What is it like for you guys finishing, and also then for you guys knowing that you come back onto land and then you have to disappear again?
Even coming past the halfway point, and when the miles to go were less than the miles rowed, I was just becoming like quite sad about, I was like, oh, the expedition's gonna end in 4,000 miles, and I didn't ever want it to end. I just wanted to be like out there, like living, you know, in the wild. I absolutely loved it, and we found coming back to land, there was just so much going on. It was really, really overwhelming. We had an absolute battle trying to get to land. We didn't think it'd be too hard to get to Australia because it's such a big continent, but my gosh, it's a hard place to get to. And we've just been really struggling with like making decisions, and we've been really lucky that like we've had family sort of organising everything for us, and I still feel like my brain's just not functioning properly.
Yeah, even just having like choice on a menu at a restaurant, we've just always got to be like, what are you having? What are you having? And you just can't.
Is it because life on land's too complicated, do you think?
I think so.
There's too much going on.
But
Too much choice.
Totally
agree.
I totally agree.
Is it available? Do you want it now?
It's too fast, yeah.
I think
It's too
so.
fast.
Just being able to get things so quickly, and you're in that mindset of, okay, I'm out here with limited resources. You know, I've got to come up with inventive ways to fix things, or like you can't get that, like, you know, order something apart on Amazon that you need, and those kind of things. And it's just, life's so busy. And I think that like we haven't had the full come down yet because you know, we've been busy traveling and whatever, but I think when we go home properly, we'll then start to get that sort of crash, because I mean, we both had really bad post-expedition blues after the Atlantic, and I think it's because you've always got that goal, and for me, like after the Atlantic, it was, you know, school, university, ocean row, and then it was like absolutely nothing. So that's, I think, where you almost get the come down, because you work so hard for this one goal and you're just so totally immersed in it and obsessed with it, to then not have that anymore, and that just to be gone all of a sudden in an instant, it's very, very strange.
I think that's why lots of people always ask the question to ocean rows, what's next? And you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people have to go and find the next thing, because they almost can't live in the kind of the world that we are. And it is an example of what you've just said. You know, we're talking about humanity and how everything is so fast, and AI is going to make it even faster. But actually, when you step away from that and you go back into what your body almost back into, they talk about homeostasis, it's that balance. When you're out at sea, that is maybe showing the world, this is really where we are as humanity. This is our level, this is what we can cope with. We can cope with not having multiple choices, having many decisions to make with speed. This actually is the truth of like who we are as humans right now here in 2025.
Yeah.
What about you guys? You're stopping, you're out in the ocean, then you're on land, you're on the ocean, then you're on land. How is that?
It's always hard transition. That's why on my crossing I try to do as little as possible. I found it really challenging, a bit like the girls, feeling totally disorganized, and things are just going too fast on land. It's complicated. Actually, life on the ocean is very simple. You eat, you row, you're connected to the universe. And now coming back on land, and especially now in Bali, I'm a bit like, I just see all these scooters, the people. I'm like, wow, this is very overwhelming. And but coming back to I always ask myself, does it change me? You know, this adventure. And it's hard to see yourself changing because you're just yourself. And I've been asking like friends, do you see a change in me? Because that's a really interesting topic. Does it really change you? And for me, the answer is I think I'm becoming more me, you know?
That's a really good way of putting it.
I really feel that because, by talking about parents and people, like, did you notice something? And personally as well, I really came to the point, I just more Louis, you know? Because you that's what you have to be. It's not possible to be someone else on the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because everyone says it's life changing, but I think it's life affirming.
It's like putting the edges. It's like you are maybe start as a circle, and then you are going to all the angles that you. Oh, nice, perfect. You are coming. you are feeling. There is the world as a shape inside that exactly fits you. You know, and you are like filling up this gap in the world that is you. And you are extending, but that's you, and it's only by pushing the limits that you actually fill that gap.
Comes back to the truth and that's
it's like angles. You know, I'm a bit more like this and this, but you need to go through tough times, and out there is a good way to do it. I don't know what you think about this. If you feel
that's why I've been doing it for 17 years. I love it. I 100% agree.
Who you are.
Yeah.
But
Isn't it interesting though, because society does shape us all.
Yeah,
You look at different cultures, where we all live, and how, I'm from the UK, and kind of societal expectations and pressures, so it's the same. And you think actually, as humans, and we were talking about humanity, as humanity, do we develop these characters and these personas because of where we live, rather than actually the truth of the essence of who we are? It's quite a deep
100%.
conversation, but
I think so.
But it will become you. That does become you. So there's that placebo effect too.
But I think it kind of makes you, because everyone talks about like these adventures or people that travel say, like, I'm going to like find myself. But I don't think you find yourself. I think you make yourself through these things, and you make yourself that person. And you've got no choice but to step up. When something goes wrong and you've not got that delivery, or you can't just rely on somebody else to fix it. You've got to make it happen. So you kind of sort of make yourself through the adventure and through the hardships.
There's no better way to strip yourself of humility and ego than to get on an adventure, nonetheless a rowboat in the middle of
Just
the
be
world.
baffled by waves and know that you are.
There's no one to
It's
blame.
a great teacher. Mother Ocean is a great teacher of humility. I mean, it's just, you are nothing. We are nothing. We pretend. We have a car, we have we pretend, but it's a fake reality. In reality, when you're out there, okay, I'm nothing.
She's the boss.
She's the boss, And it's, I really felt like that. And
Is yours a she or a he?
All boats are she's, I reckon.
Oh.
No, when I was talking in Mother Nature.
Oh, yeah, true.
I was talking about like.
Well, that's interesting too. Why is it Mother Nature? Why isn't it Mr.
It's a good question. Because I think Mother Nature, because we all have mothers who are giving life to us. I think we come all from a mother, and I think that's the reason why we give the origin of the universe. That's also my tattoo. This is a creation of the universe in Polynesia, and actually it's a womb, because we all come from there. And I think that's why we associate like the creation to like the feminine.
It's really good.
Because, but when you're out there, I felt like, and it felt good. And actually, the more humble you are, the further, no arrogance, and the further you are from like, yourself, I felt the best.
Yeah.
The more you enjoy
when
it.
you strip, like you say, you strip yourself from, because in society we pretend a lot. If I say this, I'm going to be told that, and then if I make this, then criticize. But out there, especially, like on the ocean rowing boat, there's no one judging you, and you're just at the limit of your body and nature, and you are at your place. And honestly, I don't know if you had that, guys, at some point, but at some point I felt like there is no one there, nowhere else on the planet or in the universe I should be at right now. Like, it's like a path, I'm here, and it was written. And I felt that deeply. And okay, that's my place. It's just, it was an amazing feeling to have. I don't know if you had...
Free, 100%. I'm to the 10th level, like freeing experience. I can't stop doing it. I really can't.
You get addicted.
It's become my life.
It's so addictive,
It's either when you come off an of an adventure, to get rid of the blues for me, it's like you make a list, like brush your teeth, things you normally do just to get a routine, or you find the next adventure and you jump right into it because you're going through that. For me, when I hit the land, it's 15 different countries, but I've stopped probably a dozen, more than that, in each country. I love the idea that you're showing up in a humility way, and now you're embracing society in another way. Whereas if you're living in land and you have a car and all the nice things, you're keeping up with the Joneses, you show up in a rowboat, you're connecting for one. It's not a yacht, so they don't feel intimidated, but these other people, the fishermen, you bond, and it's that line of communication that represents humanity. How good is that?
So what comes next? Not in terms of the next adventure, but like how do you... Because you've had this profound and deep and spiritual and awe-inspiring and challenging and everything experience where you felt like the truth of who each of you really are. But life is so much longer, and Aaron, you're just going to continue rowing. You're going to stop.
You're going to go around again. Once you're done, you go.
I get it.
It's not possible maybe to just keep doing that. So what does life look like
I
in
think,
the future?
yeah, it's so hard because I feel like we were talking quite a lot about there's so many things we want to do, so many adventures, and we just don't have enough time in our lifespan to do everything. You've got to focus on the things that you really do want to do, and yeah, that's a really difficult question.
I think
what's next?
we always we were just heartbroken that you can't do everything.
Yeah.
And you can't, there's so much to offer that's offered in life that you can do and you want to do, and maybe that's the beauty of it, because you can't do everything. You've got to pick and choose, and it is, it is going to end eventually, and maybe that's why these things are so worthwhile and meaningful.
I think you have to have an exit strategy, even if it's not the next adventure. I started something called Advocate Adventure, which is a nonprofit that allows people to go on the same adventure in their own life that we're all doing, even if it's not a rowboat. I think you have to, when I'm done, I want to help people do or take that first step. And I think what they need the most is they need someone who's there to say, yes, go, validate it. And then they need help with the first $100 or something just to get on it. And then the constant person there as a resource to ask questions. And I think that for me, that's what's next for me. Because I'm 47. I'm the dad in this relationship.
Daddy.
With a mom and dad relationship.
Yeah.
But isn't that the amazing thing though? That you can be any age. It's one of those. It's sports, loosely defined sport, but it's an adventure. An adventure doesn't matter what age you are. I take my kids on an adventure, and I say the same as you. I really need the children to be experiencing life away. This disconnect, for me, it's always about the disconnect from the technology, the disconnect from this crazy life on land. So whether that's kind of pushing them up a mountain or getting them to go diving or whatever it is, just that real disconnect where they can just be them and they can be in it. And you learn so much, and it doesn't matter what age you are.
It's a perspective I hope everyone can get, and they can't get to it because maybe they don't want to, because they have fear. I think that blocks people, that prevents people from understanding what we do, and unfortunately they voice that opinion on social media, so you have to not pay attention to that. But I just wish, I hope people can go on their own adventure in life, whatever it is, because it will grow, it will help this world at a better place. It just makes everything better.
You probably also received many texts of people saying, "Oh, well done, I would never be able to do it." I had so many of those messages.
It's
and
crazy, isn't it?
no.
Yeah, you can.
Because
we always respond to
I also always answer that. Yeah, of course it's possible.
Yeah, and you forget that other people just don't understand it. Even if it's not the same goal, wouldn't want to row an ocean, but would want to do another adventure. It always surprises me that people don't understand why we'd want to do this. To me, and probably to all of us, it's obvious why we'd want to do this, and not work for however many months and put in so much of you and your time and resources.
We're the extreme
to go and do
level. This is extreme, I would say, in terms of adventure.
I'll
put it up there.
It is.
Extreme. And you don't have to. I think that's the point.
But just do.
But I noticed
your
we never really ask each other why we do it. And I noticed, when I talk to people, the one who understands never asks me why.
That's a
I don't know
really
if
good
you
point.
noticed this, but I never asked you why you do it. You didn't ask me. I didn't ask you.
That's a good point.
Or maybe what?
I know why I want to, but don't have a specific.
I noticed that when you talk to people, the one who don't ask why, they can feel it and understand. Or maybe they've done it before. For me, I found this marker. And it happens.
That's a really good point.
It's
Why not? That's what.
There is the why not too. That could be a reason.
Yeah. Because why not is a good answer. It's a very good answer.
I think you just
The quick
can't
one.
explain it in a simple answer, and people want that quick. I'm doing it because of this one sentence thing, and it's just there's so multifaceted as to why we're doing it, why we come back for a second crossing, why. What core reaches the ocean, because it's just too complicated an answer, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think the big question too, that I would love to hear people answer is, if you had one thing that you did on your boat that you were really proud of, what would it be?
On the boats.
At sea, when something went wrong, you're like to yourself, holy shit, I can't believe I fucking did that.
As an act,
Something you had to come up with yourself. I know. I think I know what.
I know what you're after.
But I really think it's this ingenuity that you come up, a way of thinking and critical thinking that is all in line with what we're talking about. You didn't know you had the power to do something like that.
You mean like? I mean, I made many.
For example, because you know what they did with their.
I feel like good communication, because it's a very small place to be in for, we were at sea for 6 months pretty much, and to not have any arguments and to just, be ourselves and get along and have a really good time along the way and
still be friends after and
still be friends,
enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, I think that's
I don't think it's like
idea,
necessarily like doing that one thing, but I'm also really proud of just how we took every problem in our stride. It was never, I mean, obviously we were grumpy about things, but it was never like, okay, right, that's it, down tools, whatever. It was, how can we sort this out? How can we fix this? Just keep on going and keep on pushing through. And I think that's partly why we work so well together, because you just jump into action when the sticks are down.
And maybe that is again something that's lacking in the world. It's this ability to kind of have this desire to actually resolve conflict, to fix conflict. There's a that we're living in the world, and it's also you're right. Our values were always around kindness, and it is we are going to disagree on things, but you can't do it with grace and gratitude and kindness, and then you work on how you resolve it. Because one of the options is for poor women on a tiny little boat, and you have to come with the right mindset. But as society, you don't have to always.
But also, I think that it's okay to disagree, because we've both got different backgrounds. We probably grew up differently, have different experiences. So like, of course, you are going to disagree, and it's accepting that, but it's using it as a way to learn off each other.
Yeah.
Like, both people have different things to bring to the table.
You got a way of thinking. It's why they're so good together. I mean, just the way with that answer. I mean,
yeah, for me it was the mentality of being the sun is gonna rise again. It's like
Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, tomorrow is a new day, and that was my mentality when I had a problem. It is now, but it's not. The problem is here now. It's not forever. It will go.
It could be worse.
But it was really bad. I was like, okay, there's Aaron. It's always worse. So
not deep. Now, we can't get much worse than that.
But I think that's one thing you do learn on a nose. And I always like, there's a saying, every storm runs out of rain eventually. And it doesn't. It's once you accept that, and you're like, and I think it's very freeing, because when you're in that problem and you're like, this is rubbish, you're like, it will pass, and you're just like, okay, I've just got to pass the time until it does. And
To summarize, what would be one story each of you's never want to get in your lifetime on your deathbed? What will be the one story from the ocean that you will always want to remember, or one story that you never want to get lost as time passes and you could get things?
Oh wow, that's a hard one.
I think that's always a really hard one, because there's so many the things. I think what I don't want to lose is that, remember that feeling you get out there. It's like you were saying, like the sort of enlightenment. And it's, people always used to ask me after Atlantic, like, what was your best moment? And there was like, I could pick my favorite day and things like that, but it's what I always go to is like, that is a favorite feeling, that feeling you get when things are going right and you're just feeling very profound, and you're sort of in awe of the world and the environment. And I think that's kind of the thing but you can't, it's hard to explain and tell people that unless you've sort of gone through it yourself. So for me, I don't want to forget that. So it's hard to pick out like the story.
It's funny because I felt like we always had like massive highs on like the same days. Like, I just have like the most amazing rowing shit. I'm like, oh, I want to sit. We do a little bounce off each other. Also, each other to go to sleep, because you just kept like, what are you at night? And like, there were some days when you were just like absolutely flying downwind, which wasn't very often. We felt like we had beam on weather for most of the trip, but just when you're looking at the moon and it's not like lit up, like all the waves are lit up, and you're just flying, you're in darkness. So
we pop our heads out the cabin and be like, I don't want to go to sleep.
Anything is possible with God. That's really for me. And I don't mean to say God in a forceful way for someone who's atheist or agnostic, but there's a level of thinking that you can have in your head when things go wrong and you see something. You can have a spiritual way of thinking that uses it as a power. And then you say, oh, that's a sign. Whatever it is, whatever you got it, whatever if you have this positive way of thinking, anything is possible. It could be the worst thing possible too, but anything is possible. And so don't cut yourself short. That's all I think. Any case, if you want to go do something, anything possible.
For me, if I had to, one memory was on the Atlantic, was one night I had 0 winds, 0 waves, no clouds, no moon. So it means, I don't know if you're like, and in my cabin, I can stand up through the back hatch. And I remember I was just sitting up like flat and no noise and no moon. So you see the stars. And I felt like I was like in the sky, like in the middle of the Milky Way. And I think I only once, like the pure, because you need all 4 like components at the same time, which is hard on the ocean. And this felt, and also the planktons. So you move and you can touch the water, the planktons.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And at that moment, I felt like my soul was going up.
Did you get the reflection in the sea? Because I had one night on the Atlantic where it was so flat, there wasn't a ripple, and you almost couldn't tell where the sea.
Yeah. There is no.
There's the gam because you're saying,
Yeah, there is no. You don't see the horizon.
and it's silent.
Yeah.
All they're saying.
It's like the doldrums.
Yeah, you must have a lot of these.
The doldrums along the equator where it's like no land around.
I did, but I don't.
He's gonna ask you, are there any mushrooms involved in this? Well, the answer is no, because you don't need it, right? That's what it is. It feels like a trip, but it feels like a freaky crap.
It does.
It's a out of wild experience, yeah.
And yeah, for me that's the.
Amazing.
To do.
Well, this medieval miles you guys to go with the Eagle Shewell. The next stages of your adventure will be coloring. And I think in this podcast, YouTube video, you'll put all the links to everybody's vectors and amazing Jets. You are slowly making your way back, of course, in the UK, but soaking up and solving all your amazing experience. But you carry on. So we're thought what's next to you.
Thank you for hosting us. Thank you. And if there's any questions from people watching, I think it'd be really cool if you like, if there are any questions.
If you can say, I know she went live, that's something, Yeah, but, and also I want to add, and like a big thank you to, for you guys as well, to the sponsors, to people who are following the community, because without this, it's not possible. It's solo project or team project, but there's so much going around that supports it.
Believers.
So yeah, believers. And thank you, and yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you.